In today's episode, I'll be interviewing Stuart Takehara. He's the new owner of Full-Time Freedom Week, a business I used to co-own, and we'll definitely talk about that today. He's hosting the next annual Full-Time Freedom Week, April 18th through 22nd. Join us today as we talk all about this amazing event, all about the RV lifestyle. Welcome to the Remote Work Retirement Show. I'm your host, Camille Attell, and this is the only show dedicated to remote work for semi-retirees, people leaving the workforce, and people working in retirement to help them have peace of mind that they can live how they want without the fear of running out of money. Before I bring Stuart on the show today, I want to give you a little bit of background on him. Stuart has been a full-time RVer since January 2021. After leaving the world of corporate marketing, Stuart owned and operated 2 small businesses. We talk about that today, before selling them after hitting the road. Now he's the founder of RV Dreaming TV and the producer of Full-Time Freedom Week, teaching other RVers how to live full-time on the road. But that's not the only thing Full-Time Freedom Week does. I should know because I was a former co-owner. Full-Time Freedom Week is all about the RV lifestyle and the way you want to RV. Part-time, full-time, sometime, weekend trips. So have a listen if you want to learn more about the RV lifestyle. Additionally, you can go to fulltimefreedomweek.com. You can buy a ticket for the event, April 18th through the 22nd, and you can use the code RWS to get $10 off. Let's get into the episode. Welcome, Stuart, to the Remote Work Retirement Show. I'm very happy to talk to you. Little background, we've known each other now for not that long. I think we actually met I remember the first time I met you was last July. This would be July 2021. I met you at an Escapees Escapade, which for those of you who don't know, is a big, long-standing RV rally. I saw you shooting some video. You had this really cool little video gadget. And then literally the next day you put out the most amazing video. And I was like, who is this guy? So that's how I remember you. And then we've been kind of weaving in and out of each other's lives all around Full-Time Freedom Week, which is what we're going to talk about today. So welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. Well, this is really exciting for me because today we're going to talk all about Full-Time Freedom Week. This is coming up April, is it 18th? Is that when it starts?
April 18th to the 22nd. Yeah, all week long.
To the 22nd. Perfect. Okay, perfect. I'm so glad I got that right. It ends on my birthday. So big birth. Yeah, I know. It's very exciting. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what it is and why people should attend, the topics, all that good stuff. But before we do, can you tell us just a little bit more about yourself? Just a little background on Stuart and just anything you think we need to know, and then we'll dig right into the details.
Sure. Well, I've been full-timing now for, I guess it's going on 15 months. January 21 is when I started. And it's just been an amazing ride. I've been living in Southern California, in the Long Beach area for the last 10 years. I worked down there, and then I started my own couple businesses that I recently sold. So I've just been traveling and enjoying the RVing lifestyle. And, not quite to that retirement age yet, so still got to work from the road. And, and it's really a lot easier to do than I thought it was going to be. I'm not the most disciplined person in the world. And, right now I'm out, I'm looking out the window to the beaches here of the Gulf of Mexico. And there's so many things I'd rather be doing right now than working, but I know it's nice to kind of crank this stuff out of the way. And then in just a few minutes, I can put my toes in the sand.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to hear that. I didn't realize it was only 15 months that you have been on the road. You have done more in 15 months than I feel like I've done in 5 years, just in terms of such a massive life change. I guess you made this decision that you were going to leave everything behind, get in an RV, but also sell a couple of businesses. Is that what I heard you say at the same time?
Yeah. So I put the businesses on the market when I started full timing, and it took about 1.5 years to close all of the deals.
Wow.
Because they were kind of complicated. There were licenses, like liquor licenses and stuff involved, and a bunch of other stuff too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but finally got through that. So I'm happy about that.
Oh my goodness. I want to have you back on another episode because I'd love to do kind of like a pick your brain, even though I don't love that saying, but a pick your brain with Stuart, because I'd love to understand how a person owns not just one business, but a couple of businesses and then sells those businesses. I think that we could do a whole
Yeah,
interesting episode on that, because the other thing you did that I'm aware of is also during that time, you bought a business,
I did.
which is full-time freedom week. And so that's really where I want to start today. I know we're going to dig into what it is and all of that, but I think just for people listening who might not know, full-time freedom week was once my baby. It was my baby, along with Julie Chicory, Lindsay McKenzie, and Liz Wilcox. The four of us are the original co-founders of Full-Time Freedom Week back in 2017. And a quick recap on that: we just kind of stumbled into it as four RV bloggers and figured out we wanted to run this online summit thing. Didn't know what we were doing. Liz called it Shark Week for RVers, and kind of figured it out. And then we grew it over the years, and it became this really amazing, really like a cultural event. People stayed with us over the years. Sponsors and partners stayed with us over the years. And then one day we made the decision to unfortunately let our baby go. And that's how we found Stuart. And so, Stuart, you are now the proud owner of Full-Time Freedom Week. So can you tell us a little bit more about what drew you to wanting to acquire it? And then we'll talk about the actual event.
Well, as we were talking about, when I sold the business, I needed to find some other way to be able to generate income. I knew I was just getting ready to do the whole RVing thing. I felt like after just 15 months, I was just starting to get my feet wet, and I didn't want to give up the travel lifestyle and start another job somewhere. So I said, I need to find something that I can do where I can do it remotely. It won't cut away into a lot of my travel time, where I can still have that freedom and that flexibility. So I looked at a lot of different businesses, .coms, online, socials, just whatever, and nothing. I probably looked at over 60 different types of
Wow.
opportunities of businesses to look for, and nothing just really popped. They just weren't exciting enough. They just didn't have that, I wasn't passionate behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did find it. And then I don't remember exactly how, but just scrolling through Facebook, and it said nothing, good ever comes out of just scrolling mindlessly through Facebook. But I saw the ad somewhere. I still don't remember where it was. And it said, hey, we're looking at selling Full-Time Freedom Week. And I had beforehand never attended a virtual summit like what Full-Time Freedom Week was. I'd never done any of that. So I was like, you know what, this might be interesting because it's digital, it's online, it's only once a year, at the time. And so let's kind of explore what this is all about. And it just so happened that all the stars kind of aligned to really kind of just make it happen. So I'm really excited about getting this first one off the ground. My first one,
Aw. Well, congratulations.
not the first.
Yeah, well, the first one for you.
Yeah, first one,
Yeah,
first one
yeah.
ever. You guys have laid a really high standard, really good groundwork. I'm trying to ensure that the quality and everything is still, up there when you guys have, I don't want there to be a big lag. And when you guys have done 5 or 6 of them, I want to make sure that the 7th is as good, or if not better, as the 6th. So they keep getting better every time.
Yeah. Well, I've looked at what you've put together. I have been absolutely blown away. That is truly genuine. I think what I'm most impressed about is just how quickly you've moved. I guess I'm not that surprised, because as someone who you are you've owned businesses, you've bought businesses. I've like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, you produced a really amazing video in less than 24 hours. So I have no doubt that whatever is coming in April is going to be amazing, because you just have such an amazing vision. I mean, we're going to dig into kind of the future of what you see for Full-Time Freedom Week, but I already see the potential, and it just makes me so excited for what's to come. So congratulations on owning your first, I guess is your first online business, you said. Is that
It
right?
is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
That is wild. And I definitely, again, I want to have you back like maybe in 6 months and talk about maybe the differences between owning an online business and a brick and mortar, because I think that would be a very interesting conversation. So cool. So tell us what Full-Time Freedom Week is this time around, and like what people can expect. Give us just the lay of the land, and then we can dig deeper into some specifics.
Well, Full Time Freedom Week this time around is not so much different than previous ones. It's designed for those that are looking to get into RVing or maybe just started, that's really trying to find their place. I really wanted to focus a lot of time talking about the things that most people are concerned about or confused about when they first start RVing. So a lot of it may be about boondocking. That seems to be always a big one that people always want to know about. It just seems like there's this fear of boondocking for new RVers. So we're really going to cover that, and I think 3 or 4 different sessions from of completely different angles, which is
Mhm.
nice. The other big thing that we always get asked about is remote work. How do I work
Mm.
from the road? Well, how do I do that? And I'm really happy that you are also in one of these sessions talking all about that. And I know a lot of people are going to find that one helpful as well, as just about how to find remote work or even how to start an online business. Uh, there's so many things that are out there, so many opportunities that I don't think a lot of people even recognize or understand. And I know you cover a lot of that in your session. That will be coming up during this year's Full Time Freedom Week. And then the third is just about creating connections on the road. There's a lot of times where I've talked to just a lot of people, and a lot of them said if I hadn't met the people that I've met while traveling, I probably would not have been traveling for so long.
Mm.
There is in multiple sessions that we talk about, or people have talked about how they actually have closer, better friends since they started traveling than they ever did living in a house or a community, in a sticks and bricks, in their own home. So it was an interesting dynamic, and they talk about how they found those relationships, how they nurtured them, and what it looks like on having really close friends while you're traveling the country.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. And I want to get into boondocking here in a minute, but the connection piece that was so true for me when Bryce and I walked away in 2016. We had this like fantasy in our heads that we were going to make instant friends at campgrounds, and like we're all going to be around the fire strumming on a guitar and eating s'mores, and that which just wasn't it just wasn't like that. And what we learned as full timers at that time, we were full time RVing or even extended RV travel, is a lot of people that come into campgrounds, well, they come in on a Friday, leave on a Monday, right? So he's like, you don't really get to know them. And so I think that forming a community is absolutely vital. It's what saved us from wanting to leave the road, or at least me. Bryce could care less, honestly. Like that guy, he's so he could live in the forest alone and be completely fine. But I needed people, and well, I mean, he needed people too. But like, I just needed the connections, and so you're right. Like, I love that you're focusing on that for this
Mhm.
event because it is so important. And you're right, the friendships, the relationships that I formed on the road, these are my friends forever. Like,
Mhm.
you just have stuff in common. So I love that you're covering that. Now, boondocking, you mentioned it. I don't know if everyone knows what that is who's listening today. So can you tell
Mhm.
us a little more about like what is boondocking, and why do you think people are so curious about it?
I think making connections on the road has a lot to do with your ability to boondock. So,
Mm.
boondocking, first off, is another word for it is dry camping, where basically you're living off the resources of your RV. So, when you go into a campground, the first thing you do is you plug in so you have power, so you can run your air conditioning, so you can run this, you plug into water, you hook up your pipe so that way you can drain. Dry camping or boondocking is none of that. You just basically pull up into wherever you're going to go. You open up your slides and you go. So you're living off the water that's in your tanks. You're living off the capacity of your tanks. You're living off the capacity of your batteries, whether you have solar or a generator. You're basically completely self-contained, as opposed to relying on outside resources for your needs. And
Hmm.
I say that boondocking and your relationships kind of go hand in hand, because when you're in an RV park, you're really close to somebody next to you,
Mm.
and you don't know what they're doing, especially with the older demographics of RVers or seniors are in bed by 8 or 9. But you want to be out, like you said, strumming a guitar, sitting by the campfire, singing songs, and hanging out with your friends. And that's why boondocking is so great, because you can go out onto BLM land, which is the Bureau of Land Management. You can go out to a lot of different public lands, and you can park your rig, usually for free or for very, 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 very cheap. And you can create your own fire circles. You can have just your group inside. You can have people coming in and out. You don't have to worry about meeting people on the road and then saying, oh no, we want to come travel with you, but the RV park is full. And so, you can always say, come on out. There's plenty of room. Your ability to boondock, I think, has a direct correlation with the kind of relationships that you're going to make on the road. So I think those two really go.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you make those connections. I hadn't really made that connection consciously. I was thinking about people loving to boondock because nobody's around, which there are people like that, but you're right. Like boondocking was so much more fun when we were with a big group of friends. Your comment about the older demographic or the retirees going to bed at 8 or 9, that cracks me up because I gotta tell you, most of those people run circles around me. I'm the one in bed by 9. And they're out partying, and I'm like, don't these people go to sleep? Where are they getting the energy?
You know what?
So
I've stayed in some resorts that are 55 and over, like in
yeah,
the Phoenix area or whatever. And I had no expectations about this. I thought it was but these people in these 55 and over parks, some of them, a
yeah,
lot of them can do that. They're
yeah.
out and about. Totally active. They're up at 7 or 8 in the morning and they're chugging back Bud Lights and, playing golf there. And then they're still like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They got concerts in the park
Yes.
with the little golf carts and stuff. And then they're like at the bars, at the club. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are they doing this? Like I can stay
That's
out
how
all
I
night,
feel.
but I'm not up at 7 o'clock doing it again, It's
And then they squeeze in a pickleball game somewhere in there. I
exactly.
mean, it's just like that. And you know what? I love that. I love that people like that have found their groove and found their community and are just full of life. That is just the
Mhm.
coolest. Like I want to be like that. For some reason I'm not like that now, but maybe I will age younger somehow.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's great that you're covering boondocking, and I'm sure you're going to look at all the angles around the conservation and the solar and the power. I have a feeling you've got some speakers. Why don't we talk about some of the speakers if you don't mind? Like, who do you have covering these topics? Not every single person, because I know there's a lot, but like, who comes to mind for you?
We have over about 20 or 25 speakers that are going to be doing presentations this week. And this is what I really enjoy about where I'm kind of going with this. And I think you guys did too. All of our speakers are all RVers, full timers, some timer, part timers. They're all RVers. None of the speakers are from RV companies or manufacturers or anyone within the industry. This is a for RVers by RVers summit. And learning how to do it from people who have gone before is so much different, because when you're looking at buying a rig and you might be talking to a salesperson and you might ask the salesperson, hey, how can I boondock in this? And they'll give you a line of yada, yada, yada of whatever you want to hear. But when you're out there talking to somebody who does it full time, they're going to tell you different things. They're going to ask you different questions. They're going to look at something different than what a industry person might give you. So I think that is important. All of our speakers are all full-time active RVers.
Mm,
I
mm,
have 2 panels. This topic became really popular when I was trying to find people. So a lot of the RVers that are presenting and have presented in the past are seasoned veterans. They've been on the road
mm,
3, 4, 5 years, 10 years or longer. Sometimes you forget what it's like to be new. Sometimes you forget what it's like during that first month or two on the road. So we have 2 panels of full-time RVers that have all been on the road less than 3 months. And we
mm,
talk about, in this panel, there's 2 sessions. We talk about realities versus expectations. Like, what did you plan for that you didn't need? What do you wish you had spent more time on? What do you wish you had known? We talk about route planning. We talk about communities. What have you done? Where have you stayed? How much boondocking have you done? We talk even about, are you sticking to your plan? Because when you get ready to go, you kind of create this map and you say, here's everywhere I want to go. Your first 3 months or your first 6 months out, how closely have you stuck to that plan, or have you not at all? So we cover a lot of that fresh out of the box stuff. So that way you kind of get, if you're looking at ready to go full time in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to see ahead into the future what your life is going to be
mhm,
like through these people. And
mhm,
it's just amazing. We had 6 panelists, 2 sessions of 3 each, and they all came from different backgrounds, and they've all experienced camping their first 90 days or 120 days or whatever differently um,
Huh.
than one another. Everyone's story is unique and different. And I think that's just what's exciting about it.
Yeah, I love that. That's interesting. I think that getting people on that are newer in the experience is very smart because you're right. Like when you talk to seasoned people, it's like they make it sound like, oh yeah, URV and like it's fun and it's easy and like you get used to it and that's the thing. It's like anything you lose a little bit of connection of those early days sometimes, not always.
Mhm.
And not that that's a bad thing, but hearing it like right from someone who's like very fresh in, you're gonna get like the real behind the scenes nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And you're right, for everyone it's different, and even people who travel together it can
Hmm.
be different. It was vastly different for me and Bryce. Like for him it was like, oh my gosh, like the vacation of the century. I mean, this guy, he had us on a tight route where we were moving every 3 days because he wanted to see like a
Wow.
thousand things. Yeah, in the beginning, because we didn't know.
Hmm.
And, go here, go there, this museum, that event, this thing, that Hall of Fame. That I was exhausted. And for me, I was like, I just felt really like I said before, really disconnected from people. I was like, but I need friends. Like, and then I had also left behind, I don't know if you have anyone on the panel talking about this, but I felt like I had really left behind an identity. Like
Hmm.
I had quit my job, I got rid of my possessions, I left my home, I left my family. And that was a very difficult transition for me. And not everyone goes through this. Like you say, it's very unique. Did you talk to anyone on the panel who maybe brought up some of that kind of stuff?
We did talk about what it meant for you to be quote unquote homeless,
Mm,
because I remember when I first left and you turn in your keys, you sell the house or whatever you do, and then all of a sudden, everything you've owned, everything that you've worked your entire life for,
yeah.
your job, your career, your home, everything that you've had is either sold off in boxes or just disappeared,
Mm.
and you go into this tiny little home on wheels, and go, did I just take a huge step backwards in life?
Yes.
You just kind of go, wait, what just happened? Because all of a sudden it just becomes real, where you
Mm.
don't have anywhere else to go. You
Ooh.
don't have a home base. That the concept of you see it all the time. It's kind of cliche, but there's things where it says like home is where you park it, or all these other little campy
Hmm.
businesses that you kind of see out there. You never really you're in this weird transition to where you no longer have your home, but you're not quite comfortable enough to think that your RV is your home.
Yes.
So there's this weird transition that takes
Mm.
place, and it's like, what am I doing? Like, what did I,
Hmm.
you know?
Oh
Mm.
man, you really stated that in a way that I guess I hadn't really consciously thought of before. That is how I felt. I just felt like, was this the biggest mistake of my life? Because
Mhm.
you're right. You spend your whole life building something up because you have this vision of what your life is supposed to be. Okay, we're going to get esoteric here, people. But you do. We spend our whole lives thinking about what our life is supposed to be. We're told, go to school, get a job, or save your money, or buy a house, or life is supposed to be lived this way. And then we try to do that maybe. Sometimes we feel like we failed at it or whatever. And then we get this wild idea like, well, what else could I do?
Yeah.
And RVing becomes an option, not for everyone, but for you and I and a bunch of other people we know. But you, even still, even though you think about it and you dream about it, and when you go do it, it's like, whoa, what did I just do? And so I
Mhm.
absolutely agree with you on your perspective on that. Now we should probably say, before we go too far down the path of full timing, even though you and I full time, or you are now, this isn't only for people who want a full time, right? Like Full Time Freedom Week isn't just only if you want a full time RV. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Absolutely not. It's for what we call, full timers, part timers, or sometimers. It's really a basic introduction to life, what life could be like on the road, whether you are full time or part time or a sometimer. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about freedom, And
Mm.
what does that mean? And that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. For some people who are capable, it could mean the ability to just pack up and go whenever and wherever. Whereas others, it might mean the freedom to maybe do a week long or a 10-day or a 30-day trip to go visit family, to go do this. Sometimes it might be just summer trips where they're going to pack up a trailer and go and do a 2,000-mile road trip over 90 days over summer with the kids and then come back. It means different things to different people. And I think what I want to try and make sure is Full-Time Freedom Week is more about freedom to be able to RV the way that fits your lifestyle, your family, because there's so many variables. And some of the topics we covered, traveling with teenagers. We talked to a family that travels with a 14 and a 16-year-old. And these are high maintenance, prime teens that are pulled out of school, that need their space, that have a different level of need than say a 4 and a 6-year-old. 14 and 16 is way different. So we cover that about how they do it, living in a
Yeah.
32-foot Class A. There's, I mean,
I don't
people
know how they do it.
to see you shaking your head right there. Your eyes got all big, and you started shaking your head, and that was like the one thing I tried to um, cover as well. It's like everybody travels differently for different lengths of time and for different reasons. And I think
Mhm.
that no matter what situation you're in, there's going to be something in there that you're going to find valuable throughout the course
Mhm.
of Full-Time Freedom Week.
Yeah, I'm always impressed with the families, like you say, especially the teenagers. I've only met a handful of families that travel with teens, and I'm usually so impressed. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that teen seems so relaxed with it all, and I think here's the big story out of all of this. Even though we've talked about sometimes it can be hard and there's an adjustment, and it can be lonely at times. You got to find community. The reality is you can adapt. Everyone seems to adapt, and even people who don't want to go full time, or they think they want to go full time, and then they realize, oh wait, maybe I don't want to do this. It's okay, because you can always go back. You always learn something new. You always grow. Wouldn't you say that RVing, no matter how you do it, just provides not only just fun and entertainment, but there's growth for some reason
Oh,
involved
absolutely.
in the process. I don't know why RVing and growth go together, but they just do.
Well, I think any sort of travel grows you to experience different cultures. I remember before the pandemic, just international travel. You get to see how other cultures live, and it really kind of just opens your eyes. It makes you see things differently from where you are at home. And there's a huge diversity in the United States as well, from geographic regions. I'm not talking politics or anything else like that,
Right.
but the way that Texans live their life down here is completely different than the way a Californian or a New Yorker or a somebody in Kansas or in the Midwest lives their life. From the foods and the flavors, which, oh my gosh, the food while traveling, one of the greatest
Oh,
things. We did a session with Move with Mac, Kimberly Womack, and she talks
yes.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, so she's doing all about cooking in a tiny kitchen and tips and tricks and all that. And in there, we talked about like all the local farmers markets that she goes to go and find all this
Mm,
fresh food and stuff, and cooking with all these different spices that are from different regions of the country you can't get anywhere else.
right.
So there's just so much growth and knowledge that you can get that you just can't get even in a 7-day vacation. Like, let's say
Yeah.
you're living wherever you are and you go, I want to go to Miami for a week for vacation. I want to go to
Hmm.
Dallas, or I want to go to wherever for a week for vacation. You're not really going to get a chance to, farmers market is probably not going to be on your list if you're only going to be there for a week. you know
Right.
and
Yeah.
even the better part is, what I've learned to enjoy is, at first I wanted to go to the big cities and go to the places that you think about going to vacation. But as I'm doing it more and more, I'm learning that's not where you want to go as an RVer. You want to go to the smaller towns, to the mom and pop shops, to the off the grid, to the places that you've never heard of, because that's where the real
Yes.
charm of the country comes out. Where you can sit down, you can, I travel by myself, so sometimes I'll just pull up, sit up at the bar, talk to the bartender or the owner, just about whatever. They know everybody in town. They've got this great food that's just amazingly priced and amazingly flavorful. You can't beat that. You can't get that doing travel any other way other than in an RV.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm getting really nostalgic. Like I'm almost tearing up because I really miss that. You're so right. Like the two things are the people and the food. And you're right. Like America is so diverse. And I think we forget that. We think, oh, I want to see a different culture. So let me fly halfway around the world or whatever. But honestly, you can get culture, like you say, like New Mexico is one of my favorite
Mhm.
states. There's so much interesting culture, music, food, people, traditions. And then one state over, Arizona, which you'd think, oh, well, aren't those kind of similar? No, totally different. And like Texas, totally different. Colorado, totally different. The East Coast, North Carolina, which has like, oh my gosh, talk about the food in Asheville in particular. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we could go on and on. Yes. Now I need to plan a trip. I really need to plan a long, long summer trip because I miss it. Miss it so much. Well, Stuart, we're going to start wrapping up here. Why don't you tell us the logistics about Full-Time Freedom Week? You said it was April 18th to April 22nd. How do people sign up? What does it cost? Give us all that good stuff.
You can go to fulltimefreedomweek.com, and it has all the information in there. You can sign up now all the way up until the end of the week, because the way that we are doing the subscription is a little different than the way that you guys had done it in the past, with your 3 different membership tiers or whatever, or registration tiers. This year, we have just one way that you can watch Full-Time Freedom Week, and that is through our app called RV Dreaming. RVDreaming.tv was a new app that I created when I acquired Full-Time Freedom Week, and we put the entire Full-Time Freedom Week library going all the way back to your very first one in 2017 or 2018.
Yeah.
And when you sign up for this Full-Time Freedom Week, you're going to get access to all of the previous ones as well on the RV Dreaming
Wow.
TV app. So just go to fulltimefreedomweek.com. You'll get instant access to all the previous versions the day that you sign up. The moment that you sign up, you can start binge watching all of the previous ones, and then you'll be able to watch live or whenever you can during the 30 days that you get, the 30-day window. So you sign up, you get 30 days, you get all previous Full-Time Freedom Week episodes, and then the ones that will be happening April 18th to the 22nd as well. So you get all up in there. And if you use the promo code
RWS, is that right?
RWS, that's Camille's special code, you're going to get $10 off the registration list price as well. So that is a
Yay.
and then if you keep using that code, when you use that code and you want to say, I want to keep going for another 30 days, that price will always stay the same. It's locked in, no matter how long you remember, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of content that are uploaded into that, and it's going to be hard to get through it in 30 days. So even if you go for another 30 days or however long you do, that price point using the RWS promo code is locked in for as long as you're a member.
Yeah, I love this model. By the way, RWS, for those of you who don't know, that stands for Remote Work School. So that is my special code for you to get $10 off. I love the RV Dreamin' vision that you have, the idea that you wanted to turn this whole thing into an app, I think is brilliant. And I love the way you've set it up where people not only get the 2022 Full-Time Freedom Week experience, but they unlock all of the past years. I mean, if you have any question at all about RVing, I don't care what your question is, you will find it on this app because there's just so much depth and breadth and experience and knowledge. And it's fantastic. I cannot wait to see it.
And as a member of the RV Dreaming as well, we're going to continually add content. So we're going to add content not just during the weeks of Full-Time Freedom Week, but we're going to be continually adding new videos on a regular basis to that. So that way we're always kind of staying fresh and new in the different series and the different categories that are part of that. So
nice. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Stuart, I'm super excited for Full-Time Freedom Week. I'm excited that we got to talk today. Everyone, go check it out, fulltimefreedomweek.com. You can see all the details, as Stuart mentioned. You can use the code RWS to get $10 off. With that, Stuart, I think we're going to let you go back to RVing today. I hope you've got something fun planned.
Go stick my toes in the sand now.
Love that. All right, Stuart, take care. We'll see you on April 18th.
Sounds good. Thank you, Camille.
You're welcome.